and gentlemen, this time we're going to begin the funeral service of Marny Dixon. Rabbi Stephen Stark Lowenstein from Am Shalom will be officiating. We welcome those of you who are joining us via live stream. For those of you who are here, please take a moment to be sure your cell phones have been turned off, not to disturb the sacred funeral ceremony.
When our ancestors would hear of the death of a loved one, the first thing they would do is they would tear their clothes. It actually goes back in the Torah to last week's Torah portion. Jacob had heard that Joseph had died, and Jacob was bereft that his son, his beloved son, was no longer alive. And the first thing he did was he tore his clothes. We no longer tear our actual clothes, but we make a small little tear in a ribbon to serve as a reminder of our hearts that are torn. Only direct mourners are obligated to wear a kriya ribbon. In the Jewish tradition, direct mourners are children, spouses, siblings, and parents. So Seth and Kenny, the two of you are the direct mourners today. You have an additional responsibility to wear this kriya ribbon. I'm going to walk over to you. I'm going to ask that the two of you please rise. For our hearts that are torn, we perform this act of kriya. Even if you hired the best seamstress in the world, here or in Valencia, even if you hired the best seamstress in the world to repair this ribbon, there's no way to repair this ribbon without leaving a mark. Both of you, and so many others, will always have a mark on your heart for a very special mom, a very special sister. You will always have a mark on your heart to remember the goodness that she shared with you and with your families. Children actually wear it right over their heart. And so we place this over your heart and we make a tear in the ribbon. We don't tear a piece of the ribbon away, we just tear the actual ribbon itself. All other relatives wear it close to their heart. The children wear it over their heart. And I ask you to say these simple words. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech HaOlam Dayan HaEmet. We praise you, Adonai, our God, ruler of the universe, Dayan HaEmet. Dayan, a judge, Emet, truth, the judge of truth. We accept God's judgment today. And we acknowledge it. We accept God's judgment after a life and a death. We accept that today we return her to the earth. May her memory always be a blessing in your hearts. Amen. Death has taken our beloved Marny. Our friends grieve in their darkened world. In their silence there is lamentation. In their tears there is loneliness. Lost in their sorrow, may they find the presence of loving friends. Hear them, O God, be with them. For Marny's love that united us in life which death cannot sever. For her companionship that we shared along life's path which now continues through the tenderness of memory. For the gifts of her heart and mind that brought us joy and happiness and is now a precious, precious remembrance. For all these and more, we give our thanks to God. In this time of grief, we listen to the voice of our sacred scriptures that brings us the ever-new message of God's nearness. It tells us of our kinship with the Creator in joy as in sorrow, in light as in darkness, in life and in death. We find comfort from the words of our psalmist. Psalm 121. Asa enai al ha'ari me'ayin yavo Ezri me'im Adonai oseh shemayim va'aretz. I lift up my eyes to the mountains. What is the source of my help? My help comes from God, maker of heaven and earth. God will not let your foot give way. Your protector will not slumber. See, the protector of Israel neither slumbers nor sleeps. God is your guardian. God is your protection at your right hand. The sun will not strike you by day, nor the moon by night. God will guard your soul. You're going and coming, now and forever.
no matter what faith tradition we may be from. Of the 150 Psalms in the canon of Psalms, of the 150 Psalms, there's one psalm that almost all religions use to remind us that God is with us. It's the 23rd Psalm. There are two phrases of the 23rd Psalm, for me at least, that touch my heart in such a profound way. One is the phrase, Ki ata imadi, that you are with me. It's our reminder that during a difficult moment in our lives, God is with us, that we're not alone. Ki ata imadi, that God is with us, helping us navigate these ways. The other verse of this psalm that speaks so powerfully is the verse that says, Gam ki elech b'geit salmavet, that I walk through the valley of the shadow of death. The psalmist very easily could have written, yea, though I walk in the valley of the shadow of death, or I remain in the valley of the shadow of death, or I feel like I'm always in the valley of the shadow of death. All of those would have worked perfectly in the psalm. But the psalmist chose very clearly to say that we walk through the valley. When you walk through something, there's a before, there's the period going through it right now, and then there's a new period that comes after. We walk through those things that are difficult. But we walk through with the people that we love and the people that help us navigate. We walk through with the help of those by our sides. In Hebrew, the psalm is so beautiful. Adonai ro'i lo eksar b'no desha yargitzeni al mei menuchot yanachaleni nafshi yeshovev yancheni b'madlei tzedek lama'an shemo gam ki elech b'geit salmavet lo irara ki ata imadi ach tov v'chesed yirafuni kol yemei chayai v'shavti b'beit Adonai la'orech yamin. I invite you to join with me on the inside of the service supplement as we say together the 23rd Psalm. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil. My cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. At this hour, the blessed presence of family and friends brings comfort and strength. It says to us, be sure that love, the spring of life, abides. May all who mourn take heart as they remember the goodness they've given and received. And when the days of their mourning are ended, may the memory of their loved ones, may Marny's memory truly be a blessing. We extend our deepest condolences to her family, to Seth and to Ashley, and the beautiful grandchildren Ella and Michael and Harper, to Ken and Barbara, the brother and sister-in-law, and nieces and nephews Dana and Scott and Dawn, and great-nieces and great-nephew Maya and Addison and Brody, to family members who are here and to friends who are here. I understand that there are friends from third grade. Raise your hand if you're a third grade friend, or anyone before third grade. Any kindergarten friends? That's pretty amazing to have friends from third grade. Thank you for being here, and friends from all different walks of life. We help each other grieve. We walk together through this valley. I've always loved the words of Merritt Malloy, who wrote the following. He said, when I die, if you need to cry, cry for your brother walking the street beside you. And when you need to give me something, give him what you need to give to me. I want to leave you something better than words or sounds. Look for me in the people I've known or loved, and if you cannot give me away, at least let me live in your eyes and not on your mind. You can love me most by letting hands touch hands, by letting bodies touch bodies, and by letting go of children who need to be free. Love doesn't die. People do. So when all that's left of me is love, give me away. If you remember nothing else that I say today, I hope you remember that line. Love doesn't die. People do. So we hold on to that love in so many powerful ways. I invite you to look at the front of the service supplement and to see that beautiful, beautiful picture of Marny on the cover. She was an adventurer. She was generous, she was kind, she was loving. 75 is never enough time. The psalmist describes a long life as 70 years, or by reason of strength, 80 years. But we measure lives not in time, but in grace and the joy with which they live and the love that they leave behind. 1950 to 2025 just isn't enough time. But in a beautiful poem called The Dash, Linda Ellis says, it's not the date of birth that's important, it's not the date of death that's important, but it's the dash between those two events. That's what makes a life. And Linda Ellis's poem says, I read of a man who stood to speak at the funeral of his friend. He referred to the dates on the tombstone from the beginning to the end. He noted that first came the date of her birth and spoke the following day with tears. But he said what mattered most was the dash between those years. For that dash represents all the time she spent alive on earth. And now only those who loved her know what that little line is worth. For it matters not how much we own, the cars, the house, the cash. What matters is how we live and love, and how we spend our dash. So think about this long and hard. Are there things you'd like to change? For you never know how much time is left. It can still be rearranged. If we can just slow down enough to consider what is true and what is real, and always try to understand the way that other people feel, and be less quick to anger and show appreciation more, and love the people in our lives like we've never loved before. If we treat each other with respect and more often wear a smile, remembering that that special dash might only last a while. When your eulogy is being read with your life's actions to rehash, would you be proud of the things they say about how you spent your dash? It doesn't matter if a dash is 75 years or 100 years. It doesn't matter if it's a short dash or a long dash. What matters is how we respond to the years of our lives and how we live our lives. Marny lived her life fully and completely. Marny lived her life with adventure and with travel and with family and with kindness. Marny lived her life with friends, no matter where she lived. I loved hearing a story of her dad would walk by and she'd be on the phone and he would say, "Who are you talking to for that long?" And she said, "I'm talking to my friend Barbara." And he said, "I love those lasting relationships." And so we keep those lasting relationships in our hearts. Marny understood that. And I often think about the words of the great theologian Simon and Garfunkel. The shortest song that they ever wrote is a song called Bookends. And in their song Bookends, they wrote, "Time it was and what a time it was. A time of innocence, a time of confidences. Long ago it must be I have a photograph. Preserve your memories. They're all that's left you." I think the reason I call Simon and Garfunkel theologians is because what they teach in that song is better than anything that I learned in rabbinic school or being a rabbi for the last 31 years. We're in the business of preserving memories. That's what we do. We look at a picture and we preserve that memory. We celebrate a birth, a death, a wedding, a bar mitzvah, and we preserve that memory. That's all that we can do, and we hold on to that memory. And so, as you look at that beautiful picture of her, I hope you preserve the memories that you have of a beautiful life, of a beautiful human being. Marny Sue Lieberman Dixon lived an adventurous and wonderful life. There's a phrase that says, all who wander are not lost. Marny traveled and wandered all over the world. She went to places most people never even heard of. She saw the world, and she loved it. Every moment, every place that she could. And this summer, when she was diagnosed with cancer, she had 5 trips booked that she had to get refunded. 5 trips. She knew where she wanted to go and what she was going to do. That is simply remarkable. In all that she did, Marny was helpful and empathetic and empathic. She was a power shopper, just like her mom. She got as much out of life as possible. Everything she did, she tried to do with her family. What a blessing to all be gathered here inside. That is truly a blessing, but what a blessing to be gathered here, back in Chicago, to return her to the earth. Because Marny came into this world here in Chicago at Michael Reese Hospital, born to Melvin and Phyllis Lieberman along with Kenny. Phyllis was the ultimate caretaker. The family grew up in West Rogers Park, around the corner from Ezra's Israel congregation. And the family attended there, and Marny was one of the first to have a bat mitzvah there in the early 1960s. Being a rabbi for 24 years in Glencoe, I was able to reread what I wrote at Phyllis's funeral. And here's what I wrote. I said, Mel and Phyllis raised their children, Ken and Marny, in West Rogers Park. They joined Ezra's Israel and began a longtime family relationship with Rabbi Kaganoff as active members in the early years of his shul in California and Lunt. They went to their grandparents' Fridas for Shabbat. Ken and Marny had an idyllic childhood. Those were the words that she must have shared with me at Phyllis's funeral. Family always came first. She believed in family relationships and family time. She talked about the wonderful family trips to Miami every summer, and that you as a family had tickle parties in bed, sharing a tiny house with one bath. They took you on educational road trips each spring break. Phyllis and Mel set the bar high for what parents should be. Ken, you and Marny were so lucky to have your parents. They taught you both about philanthropy, about helping others, about travel, about family. You both took those to heart in different ways, but you both took those to heart, the lessons from your parents. She got that travel bug that she got from her mom and traveled the world. I love that Dawn shared that last summer she visited the Ark where Dawn works, which was in the old neighborhood of West Rogers Park, right around the corner from where she grew up. The third grade friends can validate this. Boone Elementary School, right? Yes? Decatur. What's that? Decatur?
That's where we met her. She came here she started at Boone.
She started at Boone, went to Decatur, and then of course to Mather. Any high school friends here? All right. Love it. Before heading off to the University of Oklahoma at Norman and then graduating back here at Roosevelt, she loved to travel, and that's Phyllis loved to travel, and that's where Marny got her bug. Phyllis's sister, her aunt, was a travel agent. In the early 1970s, Marny moved to Miami and opened up a paperback bookstore in Coconut Grove. It was an area that became super popular, and it was knocked down, and the hub of Coconut Grove is where that store used to be. She married Daniel in 1980 and was blessed with Seth in 1984. Sadly, Daniel died in 1986 from lung cancer. He got sick right after getting married, and Marny was a single mom and did an amazing job raising you, Seth. An amazing, amazing job. How special it was that she went back to school and became a mental health counselor, specializing in grief counseling, working with survivors of sexual abuse, and she started her own private practice. Here was a woman who helped so many people. She was active in supporting JAFCO, Jewish Adoption and Family Care Options. She loved to read and played canasta and played maj. They say that a bunch of ladies can ruin a book club, and she never liked that, but she loved to read. She did mosaics that were absolutely beautiful and shared that the last few summers by coming up here and sharing her love of mosaics. She was an amazing, amazing photographer. From all of her travels, and the beautiful pictures in her home from her travels are professional worthy for sure. How special that she spent several summers up here in Chicago and got to know Dana and Dawn and your families, especially your children. I love that she was always gearing up for her next trip. And I really love that her friend Barbara Rosenberg was here in Chicago, and that Marny would travel and she would come through Chicago to drop off the dog before starting so many trips. Maddie and Stella and several other dogs were lucky to call Marny their person. But especially Maddie, who will make the trip back up here to Chicago and make Chicago her permanent home. Thank you, Barbara. She was filled with a great love for animals, and they were lucky to call Marny, dogs were lucky to call Marny their person. She took an interest in everything that all of you were doing. She was able to connect with everyone, especially by phone. But to her children and grandchildren in Valencia, whether she was going there or you were coming here, I loved that strong relationship that you all had. This past April, you celebrated her 75th birthday by going to Paris and then to Disney. You had an amazing, amazing time. What a great way to mark 75 years. At the end of the trip, Seth, you said that your mom said, just kind of offhanded, she said, yeah, I'm going back to have some tests. Maybe she knew. Shortly thereafter, she was diagnosed with stage 4 liver cancer. You spent this past summer in Florida. What a gift for your mom. She fought, she tried different treatments. She hung on for as long as possible. And even when the doctor said that the end was near, she still kept fighting. That is unbelievable courage. Ken and Barbara, you shared your trips down there and visiting with her, and you would keep me updated on what she was doing, but she was hanging on. She was hanging on because she just didn't want to let go. How special that your families were there as well. Thank you for that. She hung on for as long as possible. I know that everyone in this room learned a lot from her. That we can all carry on. I hope that we can carry on her respect for all people. I hope that we can treat everyone fairly and kindly, just like she did. Like Marny, I hope that you value your friendships, because I know that the friends that are here truly value your friendship with her. People were always visiting or staying with her, and people would come to visit up until the very end. There were people still staying with her. Her doors were always open. What a beautiful, beautiful message for all of us to carry with us. She developed a deep interest in family history and family connection. It meant a great deal to her, especially as the older she got. And as a single parent with one child, she opened up, Dawn. You shared with me that she opened up to you because she knew what you were going through. She could identify, she could share, she could lend an ear. She was a great late night caller. She had been there, she had done that. And as Barbara, you shared with me, you said that Marny was one of the greatest listeners that you ever met. That is high praise. because to listen means that we really can pay attention, that we really do care. She did an amazing job as a single parent. With all that she experienced, Seth, you turned out amazingly well. 3 kids and 5 dogs. You are your mother's son, that's for sure. With an amazing life in Valencia, Spain. With an amazing partner and these beautiful children. I love that the family got closer and closer over the last few years. And I did hear, although I can't validate it for sure, I did hear that she let someone or some people drive a convertible who might not have been allowed to drive a convertible at the time. Tonight we light the 6th candle of Hanukkah. We bring light into a very dark world. The amazing thing about a Hanukkah menorah is one candle lights another candle. And if you look at it very closely, something remarkable happens. When the Shabbos candle, when the middle candle lights the other candles, the Shabbos doesn't lose its flame. It passes it on to the next candle. And then, for a brief moment, when you put the Shabbos candle on that other candle, an even bigger flame kind of illuminates. And then you take the Shabbos away and you light the next one, and the one after that, and the one after that. To me, I think it's one of the great reminders that a person passes on their light to someone else. It doesn't mean that they lose their light, but they share it with the next person. George Bernard Shaw said it best. He said, "I'm of the opinion that my life belongs to the community. As long as I live, it is my privilege to do for it whatever I can. I want to be thoroughly used up when I die, for the harder I work, the more I live. Life is no brief candle to me. It's a sort of splendid torch which I've got hold of for the moment. And I want it to burn as brightly as possible, and for as long as possible, before passing it on to the next generation." Everyone here in this room somehow got a piece of Marny's light. And now it's up to us to carry that light with us, to help make our dark days bright and our bright days even more beautiful, to help make the cold and dark outside warm by the stories we tell, by the memories we share, by the adventures that we take, by the generosity that we give. Marny understood that. She shared her light for as long as she could. And now we carry that light with us. I ask everyone here in this chapel to please rise. At every funeral I've ever officiated at, I've said the following words: "The dust returns to the earth, but the spirit or soul returns to God. It's only the house of the spirit that we place within a casket. A spirit or soul can never die." If you unpack those words attributed to Ecclesiastes, we understand that what makes us who we are is a body and a soul. Death is simply when the body and the soul separate. When we sneeze, we say, "God bless you," because the soul almost left our body, but it didn't. And so we say, "God bless you," because the soul didn't leave our body. But there comes a time for all of us when the body and the soul separate. The only thing we bring to a cemetery, the only thing we bring to a mausoleum, the only thing we place in a casket is a body, not a soul. Souls are eternal. Souls live on. Souls are big and strong. Souls are what make us who we are. Our bodies are just loaned to us. Her body gave out. It's only her body that's in this casket as we return it back to the earth. But souls live on. And we feel that soul. We honor that soul. We carry that soul with us from 3rd grade for the rest of our lives. We smile when we think of that soul. And so we ask for God to watch over that soul. The cemetery receives the body, but God receives the soul. El Malay Rachamim Shochein Barmonim Hamsei Menucha Nechona Tachat Kanfei Ashchina Yim Kedoshim V'Teharim Kezohar Harakia Mazirim Et Nishmat Marny Lieberman Dixon Shalach Olamo. God, full of compassion, dwelling in the heights and the depths, grant perfect rest under the wings of your presence to our loved one, to a wonderful mother and mother-in-law and grandmother and sister-in-law and aunt and great-aunt, relative and friend, a dear, dear friend to so many, who has now entered eternity. May she find refuge forever under the shadow of God's wings. May her soul be bound up in the bond of everlasting life. God is her inheritance. May she rest in peace. And let us say together, Amen. The dust returns to the earth, but the spirit or soul returns to God. And so we say here in this chapel, the Mourner's Kaddish, a prayer that does not talk about death, but rather reaffirms our commitment to life. And then at the end of the Kaddish prayer, and we sing Oseh Shalom, that will mark the formal end to this part of the service, and it'll mark an end to the live stream. But then it will take a few moments for the cemetery workers to wrap the casket to prepare it for its interment. And it'll take a few moments for them to do their job, and we'll wait here. And then when they're done and the casket is put into the vault, we will go back to the vault and we'll say Kaddish one more time. For anyone who wants to, no one has to go back there, and kind of this marks the end of the service if you want it to be. But if you want to go back for the final burial, you may do so. The Hebrew word for funeral is levaya, which means to accompany. And all of you have performed that mitzvah by accompanying her here on this final journey. And so we say Kaddish in her honor and in her memory. We will continue to say Kaddish at Am Shalom starting tonight at our Shabbat evening service. We will say Kaddish for the next 30 days. We will say Kaddish on the Yizkor service on Pesach, and then again on Shavuot, and then again on Yom Kippur, with all who have died in this past year. And then we will continue to say Kaddish on the anniversary of her death during these lights of Hanukkah. We will feel her light and we will feel her presence. And so we honor her with these words of the Kaddish prayer. On the back of the service supplement, we say together, Yitgadal v'yitgadash shanei rabbah, ve'almad yibrach v'ruteh v'yamlich malchuteh, v'chayechon v'yomechon v'chayeh kol beit Yisrael, v'agalav v'zman kariv v'yimru amen. Yehei shnei rabbah mevarach le'olam omeh omaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitnaman v'yitnaseh, v'yithadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shnei v'kudsha brichu, la'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbachata v'nechamata, damiran ve'alma v'yimru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'yimru amen. Useh shalom b'romah, hu yaseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'yimru amen. May the source of peace send peace to all who mourn and comfort all who are bereaved, and let us say, Amen. Oseh shalom b'romah, hu yaseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'yimru amen. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Go your way, for God has called you. Go your way, and may God be with you. May your righteousness go before you, and the glory of God receive you. Hamakom Yenachem Etchem, B'tok Shar Abilei Tzion Yerushalayim. May God comfort you.